From the 8th of the second month of 1444, the master key spread. Page of oysters reversed. Doesn't really grasp the tradition that he limits to study. 4 of peppermills reversed. It is not protected from evil by amulets and charms because it is not objects that provide spiritual security. 9 of flamingos reversed. Finds reasons for his annoyance and timidity. Ace of oysters reversed has misused abundance and hasn't quite the experience offered by materiality. Full of spite, the page of peppermills reversed uses his ability. 3 of flamingos reversed becomes alienated in anxiety. King of hats reversed was a good man, but emotion has led him to act unjustly. 7 of hats has a vision, or is it aspects of fantasy? 8 of peppermills tries to be assimilated, but it is filled with difficulty. 10 of oysters attains a fortune of history. Knight of hats, reversed, has used his artifice dishonestly or unknowingly invites the false spirituality. 9 of oysters uses her discretion towards gaining security. 7 of flamingos reversed thinks whether or not enmity is worth it if there is uncertainty. What are your initial thoughts with this poem and cards here today?
Well, I picked up on, I was picking up on big time. You know, you're never too, not your, but, you know, anybody is never, you know, you're never too old to learn. I'm referring to myself. You know, it's better to learn late in life, you know, than not at all. And it's okay to admit that, you know, hey, I don't, you know, again, I'm talking about myself. Like, hey, you know, I don't know everything. There's a lot that I don't know. There's a lot more I want to know. There's a lot more I want to learn. You know, and it's only up to myself to do this. Um, and uh, and then it came to me about you know, don't be emotionally numb. Now, where that come from? It just come out of the blue. But you know, working on personal progress. You know, it's good to work on one's you know, just personal progress, progression, spirituality. All of that stuff is beneficial to the person, and I think to everybody around them, because other people can start seeing the change, you know, positive change in that person. Yeah, it's pretty nice
Volume
little cards there.
touch low at moments. Okay, so what? I think I reshuffled a bit. So the master key spread, Lawrence. Oh, what was that guy's name? That book you sent me. The Master Key is one of his books.
Oh, Napoleon Hill. Yeah, Napoleon Hill.
No, not Napoleon Hill. Somebody Lawrence. Anyways, the Master Key, I don't remember how the spread goes. but it's one of his.
I think he was Walter DeLawrence. I think his name was Walter.
Yeah, there was like a combination of two books. One of them was oh, I don't know what book it was, so I don't want to.
Lauren William DeLawrence.
Yeah, something like that.
Great magical art.
Okay, yeah, I was trying to find the meme. But anyways, so the master key, I forget how, obviously it's 15 cards, but I don't remember how that spread goes. But this was according to that spread. So that was the context it was put in. And so the page of Peppermills. Okay, full of spite. Page of Peppermills reversed uses his ability. I don't know. He looks like, you know all that stuff where in the British TV, how the guy's wearing a wig and all that.
Yeah.
So that's just what this reminds me of.
Reminds me of the old judges. Like way back in the day at court, they would wear their white curly wigs.
And the peppermill thing is kind of like what they do at a sushi restaurant. I mean, when they use the real wasabi, I've never seen it in person because I'm poor. But when they use the real wasabi, they said because it's $250 a pound for that root. The only stuff we get is the parts that they cut off of the good root, and they grind it up as an ingredient so they can say it's wasabi. It's 1% wasabi, so it counts. But anyways, it's kind of like that thing. They want to grind the pepper in front of you, or they want to grind the wasabi in front of you. It's like, what difference does it make carrying the thing over? And I'm going to before you, because it's just like the people who want the guacamole mix made in front of them. It's like, well, if it's browning, it's old. But the idea the guy comes to your table and chops up your avocado and mashes it up for you in front of you. It's not necessary, right?
Right. I wouldn't think so.
Now, I think one of my favorite cards with this is of course the Nightmare Before Christmas, Seven of Cups card. But the Seven of Hats has a vision, or is it aspects of fantasy? Now, some cards it's not so clear, but you always have stuff in the hats. So you're having different dreams of stuff. There's different aspects of dreams. They might as well have a pomegranate, right? So they can have a pomegranate, and that will be it with that.
Fulfillment of dreams. Something
3 of Flamingos reversed was a good man, but emotion has led him to act unjustly. Now, I saw this post. This person's grown quite bitter over the years because they decided it was offensive, the idea that they would get married or something like that. I don't know exactly what their problem was. But anyways, the system, people go through stuff. It's not that people are all corrupt and or whatever, or twisted and all that to begin with. You never know at what point of life that somebody can be put through something, and that can just, sort of destroy who they are.
Yeah, true.
So this idea, first of all, is absolute nonsense. The idea, the innocent, no, karma doesn't work like that. Karma, because people figure like in prisons or something, if the person's innocent, then their time will be super easy. And it's like, I don't know what world you live in.
Right.
Ace.
I agree with that.
That they'll say, non-violent criminal. This person hasn't harmed anybody. They were like a choir boy. Let's go after them particularly. People literally do that. Ace of oysters reversed has misused abundance and hasn't quite had the experience offered by materiality. And so instead of a big old disc, you're just thinking food. That's one of the things this card does. It's like you think food, you don't really think of the lesson that you typically would think. So that's one downside, I guess you could say, to this stack is like, oh, tarts. I mean, you can think of it, but it's not really a food deck, because I guess there are food decks.
Probably.
And you got things, but yeah, it's okay, the Knight of Hats reversed has used his artifice dishonestly or unknowingly invites to false spirituality. And, you got to be aware of that emotional conversion stuff. People get you into a state and like, oh, you better convert because you're like happy or whatever. Like so many people, like they join a faith, like they say like a quarter of people convert to religions because of some love interests that they had, and yet I've heard of people that were married for 10 years, different faiths and the people they were married with, and did they convert or did they not convert? It just didn't seem too related, other than the fact they were exposed to somebody. And sometimes it's like, oh, well, I can be better at this religion than you are. I've heard that. I've heard that as much as anything. The Seven of Flamingos. What?
I said, would that be called emotional numbness? Could that be possibly in that category?
But often it's just too, because people it's like you can learn. It's like if people aren't used to feeling good or feeling loved or something, then they get drawn into cults. Like stereotypically, is that, oh well, people weren't nice to me growing up, or they weren't, or I was neglected or whatever, and then they find a cult and say, oh, they're full of attention for me and all that stuff. And and as I told you, we talked earlier, this person and they're setting boundaries. It's like, well, their boundaries are people paying attention to them, but not that they have to react like they exist, right? Is that the thing going on?
Right.
Or have to have regard for another person. It's just what I want. That's why. And that should not be absolutely not be what a cult, but what a spiritual leader should be, is that, oh, it's for their own, they want everybody to love them.
I would expect, right. It would seem to me like a spiritual leader would want their people, to love theirself. It seems like,
yeah, because a lot of that. See, that's the thing. A lot of people shoot themselves, just like curses. Just like curses and hate, that can shoot people in the foot, themselves in the foot more than others. This love bombing and stuff can do that too.
Right.
Seven of Flamingos reverse thinks whether or not enmity is worth it if there is uncertainty. And of course, this is like the futile thing. And are they playing that game, Man on the Mountain or something? Like back in the day, boys would fight to be who was at the top of the hill or top of the jungle gym, and they basically put a stop to all that. And now people are hurt more than ever. What sense does that make?
Yeah.
Where they're not fighting each other with sticks and stones out there, and you have more disability. You think that wouldn't be the case, right? Not that I recommend
There's a lot. Seems like more restrictions they come up with, the worse it gets. Yeah.
Page of Oysters reversed.
You know what I mean.
Doesn't really grasp the tradition that he limits to study. Well, it's fine. yeah, you don't want to be in part of too many traditions. Like one person that we know of, he's like, okay, he's going to worship Jesus and everything that he can possibly think of, and has altars to a bunch of conflicting traditions, and he doesn't really do it with the tact that like the Ruhainat Sufi order does. That because that's kind of ridiculous too, right? The idea that one weekend you just, okay, are we going to be Christian or Muslim or what are we going to be this week? I don't know. Check the chart, man. I forget. Um,
Check the schedule. All right.
but so this is the princess card, and you know, remember the Crowley deck? You have those 12, 12, 12. So yellow, blue, and red. I forget which order they're in. So you have those different modes. You can also have the deacons and all that other stuff. But but as far as things are going, this card is where you start on the path. You have all this potential, but you just don't. But that's obviously where you start too. If the pentacles or oysters in this case are about the creed,
yeah,
that is definitely, you know, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gotta start somewhere.
Okay,
Not necessarily from the bottom of it.
King of Hats reversed was a good man, but emotion has led him to act unjustly. I don't. Oh, did we already talk about this one? But maybe not. He looks like a candy almost because of his layers going towards the top.
Let's see. It was trying to show it.
But even though it's the chief of the hats, it's like the guy who's attained the Holy Grail, there's still something to go. And then you move on to the peppermills. And oh, might as well cover the remaining peppermills as we're going here. The 8 of peppermills tries to be assimilated, but it is filled with difficulty. And of course, there's a lot of stuff going on this card. So the difficulty, but one has done it, or the difficulty one hasn't. Although reverse isn't quite like that. And but the point is just to use things as modes, I would think. And we got less than a minute left on this, so we have the 4 of peppermills with the there's a wreath and a bunch of peppermills, so I guess they're doing a presentation with them. You have she's engaging them in play with the 9 of oysters. Different levels of society with the 10 of oysters, and too much. The situation is too much with the 9 of flamingos. And share whatever thought you think comes.